Hello everybody, this is City Scrapper. Thanks so much for joining me on my channel today. Today I have another scrapbook layout process video for you, and this layout was made using the December My Creative Scrapbook limited edition kit. I believe this is the 7th layout that I've made using the kit this month. For this layout I am making some Christmas trees, and I am taking pieces of rectangular paper, folding them in half slightly, and I'm finding the center that way, and then I'm just making a long skinny triangle. Some of them are longer and skinnier than others, but I wanted to have them in different sizes. Now I'm just using my scissors to cut out each of the triangles, and I'm going to be using some papers. You could see them up in the top left-hand corner. I used those strips of paper on another layout, but for these trees I ripped one of the edges off so that they would be tattered. On some of the strips, I'm using my scissors to further distress them. The pieces of paper I just added have a nice distressed edge, but when the edge looks too neat, I'm using my scissors to rough it up. And I just continue from bottom to top until I get to the top of the tree. Since I had a lot of strips of paper left, I made quite a few of these trees. I use a couple of them on this layout, but I still have a bunch more, and I still have one more piece of paper that I'm planning to use the rest of the trees on to make one more layout. And there you go. That was a simple way to make a cute little Christmas tree. Now I'm working on my layout. I am covering this beautiful piece of red 49 in market paper that was included in the kit with some clear gesso. I'm just going back and forth, up and down and back and forth, just making sure that I cover the entire piece of paper. I'm not using sprays on this particular layout, so it's not as important, but I still want to make sure I cover the whole thing. And you can see that once it dries, it becomes totally clear. I'm trying something a little new this time. I wanted to put some white modeling paste in the background, but I thought I would try mixing in a little bit of gold modeling paste as well. I've never done this before, so this is a bit of an experiment. The modeling paste is called Icing Paste. It's made by Prima. I just mixed that in, or kind of layered it on top of the white modeling paste, and I mixed white modeling paste with white stencil paint to make the modeling paste very white. And I like the way that turned out. I thought it added a nice little touch to the modeling paste. So I'm going to continue doing that across the background. My thought is that I'm going to make the layout go from the upper left-hand corner to the lower right-hand corner, and I also want to put a little cluster up in the top on the right. So I'm putting a few patches of modeling paste going down on a diagonal, and then I'm also going to add another little cluster of modeling paste up on the top, which I'm doing right now. Once I've completed the modeling paste and I have it in all the areas that I like it, I'm going to use a heat tool and make sure that everything is dry before doing anything else to the layout. Now that that's all dry, I'm adding some white splatters. I don't add as many as I usually do, but I did want to add some. I also wanted to add a few black splatters. I don't add as many black splatters as white splatters. I feel a lot of times that I add some black splatters and I tend to be more conservative with those, and then sometimes after I put the embellishments on, you can only see a couple of black splatters. So I'm putting the black splatters in a few places that I think will be showing. And in the end, you can see some of the black splatters on this layout, so I was happy about that. This is the photo that I'm going to be using. I had already mounted it on a piece of green paper, and I popped it up on some fun foam. Now I'm making that cluster of embellishments around my photo that goes from the upper left to the lower right-hand corner. And I'm using everything that I still have from the kit. There's still a lot of things left to use. There are some tags and some ephemera pieces. I love that little Santa that's on the left. And I also am going to be adding there it is, another little card with a Santa on it on the right. I have a couple of Prima and 49 and Market flowers left. There's some Bow Bunny embellishments that I'm adding in there, and I'm just arranging everything the way that I think it'll look pretty and balanced. So this picture of my daughters was taken in my sister's house, and if you look carefully, you could see on the upper left-hand corner the top of her Christmas tree. And recently, my sister and I were talking about kind of scaling down some of our Christmas decorating, and she had mentioned that she was going to get a smaller tree, which I was planning on either not putting out a tree or doing the same. And I was really happy for her because she works super hard and she spends a lot of time at work, so I was happy for her that she wouldn't have to do so much work on the tree, but I was a little bit bummed because she has a really, really gorgeous tree. So she did go ahead and get a smaller Christmas tree, and I just saw it, and it's just as beautiful as the tree that she puts up every year. So I was really happy that we'll be able to take pictures in front of the tree, and she doesn't have to work as hard to put the tree out. In order to make the embellishments stand out a little bit, I'm using some Distress Oxides to tint the edges of all of the embellishments. I don't show it, but I do go around and tint all of them. I mix together some black and some green. I tried using the gray, but it just wasn't dark enough, so I did mix together the green and the black, and everything on the page, except for the photo, I believe, was tinted with those colors. And I'll put the colors in the description box. It's a green color, and it's also the black soot color as well. Now I'm working on that embellishment in the upper right-hand corner. I've also added in some pine branches that were from another layout. I had already embossed them in gold, so I wanted to make use of them on this layout as well. I'm also adding in some large stars. You could see those jewel stars. I have them just placed on the layout, but I don't have them at the tops of the trees yet. I bought those in a dollar store. They weren't $1. They were one of those dollar stores where not everything's $1, but it was a big pack of different color star jewels, and I wish I bought more than one of them because I've almost used them all up. I was going to just put those stars on the larger trees and put a smaller star that wasn't a jewel on one of the smaller trees, but in the end I went back and I switched the one that I had that wasn't a jewel to one of the larger jewel stars. I just felt it looked better that they all looked the same, and I thought it was a perfect way to top off a Christmas tree. Here I'm punching a hole in that tag so I can put some cord through it later. And the title that I had here was going to be Magical Memories, but then somehow I lost that little piece of paper that says Memories, the little die cut. I haven't found it yet. I'm sure eventually I'll come across it, but it turns out to disappear. So I had to switch up my plan a little bit, and you'll see that at the very end. I used the writing on the bottom of the page where it says Merry and Bright. I use that as my title. I also use some of that cut apart strip because it's that yellowish, goldish color. So I use a little bit of the strip. I put a torn strip to the left of the photo just so there would be another area that had that color in it on the layout. And you'll see that in the close-ups later on because I ended up doing that a couple of days later. Now I'm just putting everything in place. I thought that I didn't have enough texture paste underneath the photo, and so I add just stencil paint. It ended up, I was not a good idea because the paint was too thin. I should have mixed in the modeling paste, but I was a little more careful on the top. But it's okay because everything ends up getting covered up on the bottom. You can see I put that little black banner there. And another thing that I do end up doing later on is I put an embellishment that has a rounded bottom at the bottom of the picture because I felt that it was too unbalanced. There was too much of the texture paste showing on the bottom and not so much of it showing anywhere else. So I added that later on. I also thought it looked good because it balanced the tag that's rounded at the top, And then there was something under the picture that was rounded, so I felt like that was a good addition. Now I'm using some heavy-duty gesso. I'm just going around and just putting a little touch of heavy-duty gesso around all around all the embellishments, including the flowers. This is something I've seen Marilyn Rivera do a lot, and I love the way it just makes everything gel together and look like one cohesive embellishment cluster. So I continue to add the white gesso all around the larger cluster and then the smaller cluster too. When I'm done adding the heavy gesso to the layout, I add some self-adhesive pearls. I never know how much of this process to include, so what I did was I just sped it up a lot. I put the smaller pearls toward the top and the larger ones toward the bottom. I used 2 different colors of red. I used 2 different colors of green that I just happened to have in my stash. All the colors went together because there's so many different colors of red and so many different colors of green on the background, so I didn't really have to worry that anything didn't match. It seemed like everything that I put down matched together. Some of the pearls are just really inexpensive pearls that I've gotten from the section in the front of the Michaels stores where they have those big bins. Sometimes they're very inexpensive, so whenever I see them on sale, I pick those up. There's also some Queen & Company, and I like the way both of these pearls, these brands, I guess, of pearls, they have smaller, medium, and large pearls. So I like the different sizes. And I feel like that this adds a nice touch to the Christmas trees. I only had a couple of this particular color of green that I added. So there was one color that I just sprinkled around a little bit, a couple on each of the trees because I didn't have that many of them. I also decided that I didn't like the way that tree was in front of the photo, so I took off a couple of the pearls and I tucked that behind. I'm also adding some more of that gold icing paste to the modeling paste in the background. And now I decided that I wanted to add some different color pine branches in addition to those gold ones, and I tried a bunch of different ones, but I really liked this particular color green. I thought this was the color to go with. The dark green just seemed a little bit too dark, and the red, I had some red branches that just seemed to blend in, and I felt like this was just perfect. So I'm just looking for a couple of different places to put these pine branches, cutting them into smaller bits. I don't want everything to be the same. Once I have decided which pine branches I want to put on and where I want to place them, I'm adding some Snowflake paste. And I'm adding those to each of the green branches. That bottom cluster, you'll see in a little while, I felt it was too busy. So something I already did was I took off that red and black checkered flower. I didn't think it looked crisp and fresh enough, that particular flower in that spot. It's a beautiful flower, but I just decided it wasn't right for this particular layout. And I also took off that, it was like a pine cone cluster. I felt that it was just kind of confusing the eye down there, so I took that off the page as well. And it's still in good shape, as is the flower. I can use that on another layout. I don't always show the gluing process because the videos would be really long if I did that, and I want to keep them on the shorter side. So I do glue everything down in this layout with just regular clear glue. Here I'm cutting a piece of twine. It's a gold and white twine, and I go back in and I just tatter up the edges a little bit, and that completes my layout. Thank you so much for watching, everybody. I hope you'll go on over to the My Creative Scrapbook website. I'll put the link in the description box and check out all the beautiful kits that they have this month. I want to thank you so much for watching this video, and thank you so much for liking and subscribing. I hope that everybody has a great day, and a wonderful holiday, and I'll see you all again soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.